Good to see you. Hey, how do you do? Good, good.
And then out the parking spot. Hey. I see you're so Canadian.
No, I know Roy.
Man of the hour. Man of the hour. How you doing?
What is this guy here? Are you still living here? He's a little late.
But I love her.
Child, we are going to have a few people speak.
To the podium for the opening comments.
James, thank you to you all for coming out on this nice spring balmy day. Okay, friends, Romans, countrymen. Oops, wrong side. This side is empty. All right, this side is empty. I guess you know where that speech came from, right? It's Mark Antony's speaking in the play Julius Caesar. And that was the first speech I ever had to memorize. And you know, after I said those 3 words, I forgot the rest of the speech. Anyways, so I'll follow the same lines. Friends, Scarboroughrites, Canadians, lend me thy ears. Today we are all here to honor a wonderful gentleman. A humanitarian, a champion, a Scarboroughite.
All right, that's the one.
I give you Dr. Alvin Curling. Give a big hand. Alvin was born in Jamaica. Now, why don't we have Jamaica weather here right now? And he's a former Scarborough MPP from 1985 to 2005. That's 21 years that he gave to us. Okay. And was a House Speaker in the Ontario Legislative Assembly in 2005. Was a former Minister of Housing, former Minister of Skills Development, former Canadian diplomat envoy to the Dominican Republic in 2005 to 2006. My lips are frozen from the Jamaican weather. And now an ongoing community leader who is making a difference for the people of Scarborough, Toronto, and Ontario. His tireless and selfish energies as a representative, championing many noble causes and initiatives, which include public education, public safety, affordable housing, and most recently, the Scarborough Rouge Hospital redevelopment campaign, continue to keep him busy in a time where many retirees would just be putting up their feet and calling it a day. But he keeps on working hard for the people. So all these years, for myself, speaking for myself, through many election campaigns, federal, provincial, municipal, I can only remember 3 politicians who came calling at my door. 2 of them were Catholic school trustee candidates who I knew personally. The third one is Dr. Alvin Curling. I remember standing in my driveway, and around the corner comes this Afro-Canadian walking up the street. And it was Alvin Curling. Okay. And like most voters, I was thinking, election time. But yes, I voted for him because of all the work he's done for and in the area that we live in. Actually, I used to live across the park here. Okay, sometime about 20 odd years ago. And in the last, so now I come down to how we end up here. Okay, in the last term of council, when it came time to naming the 3 streets in this new subdivision here, the staff recommended names like Peony Crescent, Porcelain Terrace, Serenity Court. Well, I didn't know any of these people. So Alvin Curling came to mind. So I called Alvin, I said, hey Alvin, okay to name a street after you? And you know his answer. That's why we're all here today. now. So today we are here to give an appreciative nod to Dr. Alvin Curling's sense of community, his public service, and his good representation of the people in this area. So as we congratulate Alvin on this official street dedication of naming this street, no, not quite doctor, okay? I mean, Alvin Curling Crescent. We thank him for his efforts in paving the way for others to see how they too can make a difference. So I'd like to congratulate Alvin. Thank you, Dr. Alvin Curling, for all your accomplishments and your leadership. So now I call upon MP. Oh, okay. I call upon change of order of speaking now. I call upon Minister Michael Couto.
I know the first time I met Dr. Curling was probably in the late 90s. I was still a young man back then. And I remember meeting him, and I felt so nervous to be around him because, you know, he was this larger-than-life person that, you know, we know as Alvin Curling in Scarborough and all of Toronto. And then I got to know him, and you know, he's an incredible person. I think just looking around and seeing who's here today, I see people who've worked with him in the past, people who have volunteered with him, people who have fought with him for issues. It's you know, really proud for me to be here and to be able to say a few words. When I go into the legislature every morning, and I tell Mr. Curling this all the time, I walk by his portrait in the legislature, and I always say good morning to him, even though I don't see you every day. I see him every single day, and I say good morning, Dr. Curling, and I keep going by, and I think about you know, I think about that image being in the legislature and all the children that come in every day, and Granville.
As well, I see Sumi there and others.
I cannot say more what has been said already, but I want to recognize a couple of people. Councillor Norm Kelly, the other patriarch of Scarborough. Okay. And then former Speaker David Warner, who's also my constituent. 2 speakers here. That's just really good. Scarborough has a lot of strong people. But for me, Alvin, it's about the people. And it's so fitting that there's a street named after him, but for Sean Chen, who's out of the country for government business, for us it's also about the school. I remember there's a school at TDSV named after you. It's about the future, right? And it's so important for us to have this legacy, your contribution will ever be entrenched in Scarborough, more importantly, for the next generations.
And besides Gary here, representative of Sean Chen is here, Judy Yang as well. Okay, so she can come and give the school leader. Okay. Yeah.
Spread around Scarborough. I do have to confess that I really wish this was in Rouge Park, just a few streets over. But you know, I'll forgive you because we do have a beautiful school named after Dr. Alvin Curling. It's in my riding, and it has incredible leadership and great things are coming out of it. But every time, I don't know about you, Mike, but every time I go by Alvin Curling Public School, the sign talks back to me. So I don't know if the portrait actually talks to you every time you go to the legislature. But I know over the years, the time I've spent with Dr. Curling, I know there's a lot of things that are in my head that I repeat or because of the advice that I was given.
And they are trying to promote. You served with Alvin in Ontario Legislature.
Yes. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I was a bit late, but and I won't keep you long because it is cold out here and we have some celebrating to do. But it is my pleasure and my honor to be here together with all of the other elected representatives. And I think it's a real commentary about Alvin Curling that all of the people from federal and provincial politics and municipal politics would be here together to pay tribute to him. In my case, my lateness could be excused by the fact, well, I was in traffic and I've got to speak to somebody about that. But I also went to a brewery opening in the West End, the Junction Craft Brewery. I recommend it to you, but I had to stay there for a longer period of time because I was recovering from being at Councillor Chin Lee's Environment Day this morning, where they were giving out compost and plants, and they should have been getting out rock salt and shovels because it was so cold. It was snowing at his Spring Environment Day. I don't know, Chin, you got to do something about that. Well, that's the federal responsibility. Gary, that's up to you to deal with that. But, you know, ladies and gentlemen, I've known Alvin Curling for a long time, and I don't remember how far back, but one day I do remember is a day that I first went into the legislature as a member, and I went straight in. The day I arrived there, I became immediately the leader of the opposition. And I'd never been in there before, and I didn't know, very much about how the place worked. It does help sometimes if you've spent some time there. But he was there, and he'd had a rough time before I got there because both parties, the Liberals, of course, thought that they'd appointed him and he should have been doing everything for them, and they were upset that he wasn't. And the Conservatives thought, notwithstanding that he was being very fair, that he was being unfair because he was favoring the Liberals. So the poor man just couldn't win. But I went in there and I decided, because I respected and I liked Alvin Curling, that I wanted to behave myself, and he will confirm, I'm sure, I never heckled the whole time he was there. I never heckled the whole time I was there. I never did. I did never once. Not what?
Short memory.
Yeah, he's figured out the strategy. I just had John Baird do it for me. But I'd lean over and pass him notes and tell him what to say. But Alvin Curling, in that job, as in everything he's done, was fair. He was decent. He was collegial. And he's just gone on from that first job in which I knew him well, and of course I knew him, as we all did, as a minister, and I've heard others speaking about his pioneering role that he played there. When he went to the Dominican Republic, I will say the only bad thought I've ever had about Alvin is that my invitation to go down to the Dominican Republic, which I still haven't visited, while he was our representative there, never seemed to arrive in the mail. But I'm over that now. He's done such great work for this community. And I can tell you, Michael Coteau was here a minute ago, and he may have just gone to the back, but something that Michael Coteau helped to sponsor just last week was a continuing tribute to the work of Alvin Curling, in this case involving ways in which we could make it easier for young black men and women, but particularly young black men, to access jobs. And we took a job fair out to one of the communities where there's been a lot of difficulty for some of those kids, including kids, I might add, and this is the part that Michael Coteau specifically funded through the Kathleen Wynne government, was to make sure that young men who'd had a little bit of trouble with the law could still have an opportunity. And we told the employers that came that those kids were going to be there looking for jobs, and a lot of them got jobs that day. And that is going to be a life-changing experience for those young men in particular. And that traces back to the work that Alvin Curling did with Roy McMurtry. And I can tell you that a person that I call frequently, and the other thing that's even more important in a certain way is that he also calls me. And he'll call me to tell me that I need to focus on something or do something differently or call somebody. And I really appreciate that, because he's a man of complete integrity, a man who's all about serving the entire community, and a man who just radiates decency through every bone in his body. And so to me, to see this kind of recognition that will be in this community that will last beyond our lifetime and will be a lasting tribute to his public service, one of many, is something that I'm just very pleased to be a part of. So Alvin, thank you for being who you are and what you have been and what you will continue to be, and which is a great example to everybody and a great example of public service. And long may you continue to be a public servant, as I know you will. Thank you very much.
Okay, you have the podium.
Well, thank you, Chairman. Before I even make any other recognition, let me talk about two mentors that are here too with me. I assuming the job as Speaker of the House, I have a friend who is the best behaved person I know in the House, or the worst behaved member of the House since he became Speaker. Then he was the best behavior of the House, David Warner, who is here today. And a great friend, Norm Kelly, who too, who's a stalwart in Scarborough. These are two strong Scarboroughs who have been just remarkable. Another confession why I said yes to the road being named in my honor is that the people who are here today, have walked every street from Victoria Park to the Pickering line, and they never walked this road before. So I said, if you name a road, then they can walk here. And because they got older and slower, they don't have to come when they were going to celebrate this. And I just want to thank those who have been so remarkable in making this happen, which is you all. And Dr. Mack, I want to point you out because you embarrass me every time you come. Because she said, I remember you. I was a page when you were there. And I said, no, that must be my younger brother or something like that. Thank you so much for everyone who are here. It is one of the warmest gathering, physically, mentally, and everything else. I can't understand why you all are cold. I mean, I don't even have a coat on, and you guys are freezing, and it's not so itself. But my family, immediate family was here. Hyacinth is here. She has assumed the role as a photographer. I'm not quite sure if there's any film in it, but I mean, it's all right. There's Dion and Ceylon and David and Quinn, you know, my daughter, my granddaughter, Nicole and Nicholas, Steve, Maya. I wanted to come forward because they're looking so beautiful. They look like me, I tell you, so handsome, like that. And but I want also, they grew up into this kind of a situation where I know we carried on. Now, all of those folks, all of those I see come up to, all of those who are here. I want to tell my colleagues in public life that it happens. It really happens because of the folks you see here. You know, and Mayor, you know it too, and you're such a grassroots person, although you come from such affluent, which you decide to pass some of that money on to me sometime. And he's such a grassroots individuals, and all of my colleagues in the House with me, who many of them who have been continually be so supportive. But it is these folks here and beyond who have made it possible and made it so wonderful for us to know that Scarborough is a place. The mayor didn't tell you the other story when we asked about when he was running it first time as a mayor, this last time here, and he called me and I said, you know, you're a conservative when I knew you, and I won't support you unless you can make this happen. So my Toronto include Scarborough. And I want to commend you how difficult the role has been, Mr. Mayor, that I feel a little bit that we're a little bit a part of Scarborough, but I want a little bit more of us to be a part of Scarborough. So in the next election, I want to wish you well and hope that you embrace Scarborough in the fullest form, like, you know, subways and things like that, you know, and more transportation and I'm not putting any pressure on him at all. And I'm not going to put any pressure on Mitzi or any of those who are running. But I know the activities they're going to have coming up will be one in which that we can really see Scarborough, which is the place, is the center, really the center of the greater Toronto itself. It's the best part of Toronto anyhow. You know, we have the route, we have the zoo, we have all of these kind of wonderful stuff. So I wanted to thank you so much. This great honor that you have bestowed upon me as just the name itself. And Greg Wong, you know that's true, right? Because the fact is that here we are in an area that people sometimes speak so negatively of Scarborough. But thanks to many of the leadership that you have shown, those who have been put themselves forward in public life, and to make sure that Scarborough is a wonderful place to live, a wonderful place to have a family, and a wonderful place to us we can all call home. So we want to welcome you, of course, those who wish they were Scarboroughites, and those to embrace it more. Thank you so much for this great honor. My family will always be so, you know, a feeling of great warmth about all of this. And it is a thing that I hope I won't be responding to some folks like the young lady in grade 4 who said to me at the time, and I mentioned it many times, it reminds me, you know, that she said, are you Dr. Curling? She said, yeah. I said, yes. She said, I thought you were dead. And I said, why? She said, well, the school is named off you. So I'm glad I'm standing here, even on those frozen stiff the fact that we can embrace that. I'm glad that those who have helped and have made the possibility of this great Toronto, this great Scarborough are here, and I know more would be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for the warmth, and thank you for the continue to be there. I just want to mention one quick thing. Earlier on today, about half an hour before, the High Commissioner for Jamaica had come about, and she said she had to go to another event. And also Colonel Charles, Senator Colonel Charles, who is now the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Jamaica, came by to take a picture of here because they were quite happy to be a part of this. And I want to convey to you that I want to say to you, thank you for treating me so well, and I'm not quite sure I'll ever go back to Jamaica because Scarborough is my home, and thank you so much. But again, you know, my colleagues too, who have done so well in Parliament, and I want to say to you, I'm very proud to be associated with you all, who have done so well and fight the battle so strongly. And I want to thank my family, who has completely been with me all along, and can't believe I've stayed home so long and so often now. God bless you all, and walk the street of Scarborough, and walk the street of Alvin, and Crescent, and it all. Thank you.
It's a family.
Oh, yeah. I was saying to Mitzi there.
Okay. Mr. Mayor. Okay.
I'm doing great.
Got it? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go lie down, okay, on my knees.
Somebody counting?
All right. 1, 2, 3.
I think the sign should have been bigger.
How did we get this to your house? Okay.